without writing.
I think this one has to be written, unfortunately.
Okay, let me decide whether to write or not.
Yes, my lady, it's with regards to the circumstances of this case. You are aware that the fifth accused has always been held at Naivasha prison for certain security reasons. He has asked me to ask the court to make an order that his committal should remain at Naivasha, where his security has been always secured. So the proceedings end.
I think that one is, that I'm truly, not just functors of issue, I have nothing to do with it.
With that, I understand that, but it's just in the...
And I'm sure there's something you can do.
In this case.
There's something you can do about it yourself as his counsel.
Yes, my lady, but...
And you can speak to Mr. Motuko,
I'll do that.
Chief Counsel,
Yes.
Chief State Counsel. You know the age he is in.
Yes, my lady, I shall see him and have a sidebar with him.
All right. So, am I now allowed to adjourn this court? Thank you very much. Court is adjourned.
Yeah, of course. This was PW1. Protection.
criminal trial so that criminal justice is realized as soon as possible. Especially when crimes have been committed which involve even people who are in the police service or in the security agencies, it's a bit much more complex, and the sooner you sort out these issues, the better. Thanks.
So, thank you, Akili, for that. Maybe we take one from President. That's fair enough. There's also another statement. Another statement. Okay. Let us.
So we can go. All right. Yeah, on behalf of the Law Society, we want to thank the judiciary for the sentence that has been given out today. It sends a very strong message against police brutality, against impunity. This case is one that is of significance in the criminal justice system because it involves senior police officers who undertook a crime using public resources, resources that were meant to protect the members of the public. It is also significant because the offense was committed in the course of an attempt to pervert the course of justice. And so we applaud the decision that has been given today. We believe that the court took into account all the factors that it ought to take into in the course of sentencing as guided by the decision of the Supreme Court in Muruatetu. We are in agreement that the first accused, being the mastermind, deserves the death penalty. Although we also take the view that perhaps the second and third accused should have gotten much more severe sentences, given that they have already been in prison for the last about 6 years, and that will be taken into account when considering the sentence that had been given. But that said and done, we know that there have been several cases of ongoing police brutality. We know that there are so many cases of enforced disappearance and extrajudicial killings, and this is just but a small win in a very, very accountability. And so as a Law Society, we would have gone unaccounted were it not for the determined and diligent stakeholders, the perpetrators of that heinous crime who have today been sentenced to accordingly would have gotten away. And so we need to be vigilant. We need to keep this fire burning, and we will work with all the other relevant stakeholders to ensure that we bring to an end the culture of extrajudicial killings. To the family, I am sure that this decision, even though it has come 6 years, brings closure to the brutal murder of the 3 victims. And we know wherever Willie Kimani is smiling from heaven, because the work which he began in terms of seeking police accountability has been finalized today by this decision. Thank you.
Check the switch. Okay, so summarize the statement so that you can share with us and have an elaborate one.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen of the press, the family of the deceased, the victims of the suspects who are now sentenced, and we now have them placed in custody under the sentences that have been given. Good morning. I will read a statement on behalf of the Police Reforms Working Group. That is a alliance of 20 human rights and governance organizations this morning, and I will just be brief because I believe we have all been sitting waiting for this moment. Today we close the chapter on one of the most heinous murders of our decade. the murders of lawyer Willie Kimani, his client Josephat Mwenda, their driver Joseph Mwiruri, brought to the fore the dark abyss of police criminality in Kenya. With their sentencing today, we can sigh a sense of relief. We can feel a sense of justice. There may be no joy in this moment because we have lost 3 human beings and it has taken 6.5 years for this case to be concluded. But there is a sense of justice. As the Police Reforms Working Group, we would have liked to have seen stronger sentences, particularly life imprisonment, because we feel that the threshold of responsibility for state officers has to be much higher than that for citizens. That you cannot use state resources, you cannot use state officers, you cannot use the shield that you and the oath that you have given as a police officer to murder people in the way that these 3 human beings were dispatched. So as the Police Reforms Working Group, we would like to start by saying that this is a great start in terms of building a culture of police accountability. But as the President of the Law Society has said, there are many other cases. Next week, we will see the case of Police Constable Ahmed Rashid. We have also the case of former number of cases before our courts. And I think what we have to say, all rogue officers, that tolerance is now over. But the intolerance that we need to have is with assist apples. We have to talk about the soil, the water, the air that gave rise to the apples that have taken the lives while as police officers. So we have to look at systemic change as well. So this message is also to the Interior Ministry. It is also to the Office of the President. We can start by acknowledging and congratulating His Excellency the President for disbanding the Special Service Unit, by demanding for prosecutions that were responsible for 30, I think it was, pound floating down God's River in Yala. We can also demand a number of changes, and I think is that when the state has political will, the cases of extrajudicial killings go down. In the last 1 year, we have seen a 30% in the cases of extrajudicial killings and in the case of enforced disappearances. Why has this have continued to? Thank you for doing that. It is also the case that investigators, prosecutors, and oversight officers in the Independent Policing Oversight Authority, that vigilance that is there continues to make it impossible for police officers to think rationally that they can abuse the rights of Kenyans and still come back to work the next day. So I think this judgment is important in that regard. 3 other quick policy decisions that are required. We have to demand at this point that the Attorney General and the Parliament effectively and fully implement the National Coroner Service Act of 2017. That act and the Prevention of Torture Act came into being 1 year after the Mavoko 3 were killed. And it is a shame that we have not seen these 2 pieces of legislation enacted. The new government of His Excellency the President William Ruto has an opportunity to show leadership by essentially implementing these 2 acts. We also need to see the government of Kenya criminalize enforced disappearances and extrajudicial killings by ratifying without any reservations the International Convention for the Protection of All Persons from Enforced Disappearances. And lastly, we have to see greater vigilance and greater interruption of those parts of the police service that have come to serve not the public, but to serve themselves and to act in a manner that disgraces their uniform, that frightens a nation, and does not increase the possibility of safety and dignity for all. To the family of the 3 suspects to the victims, on behalf of the Police Reforms Working Group, allow us to convey our sympathy, our empathy, and our solidarity, not just over the last 6.5 years, but for the rest of our lives. What you have gone through, no family in this republic should go through this. You are brave, you are courageous, and you have stood by your loved ones right to this moment. And I think we have to acknowledge you as a nation for really being that parent, that brother, that cousin that essentially stood with the victims until the end. I thank you very much.
Hannah Wanjiko Gitweria, wife of the late lawyer Willie Kimani. And today we are very happy that justice has been served. And at least now Willie can rest in peace. And along the way we had lost hope. We thought it would never happen. But we really thank God because our God is a God of justice. Yes.
Leo ukija hapa ulikuwa unatarajia yapi yatatendeka, labda kesi itasogeshwa bado mbele au ulikuwa unatarajia nini?
Actually, I was very hopeful that we are going to get justice. I had no doubt that they had committed the said crime. Yes.
And how are the kids?
The kids are doing well. They are in school. Castro Kinoja is in grade 5 and is in grade 2. Yes, thank you.
Sasa hivi wameanza kuelewa maneno. Walikuwa wanajua kwamba leo ni siku ambayo hukumu itatolewa.
No, I try to explain to them, but you know, them being kids, you just let them be kids. But for Castro has memory of the dad, but Patterson does not have the memory of dad because he was, in 2016, he was 9 months old. Yes.
Labda watakaporudi kwenda kuwachukua kutoka shuleni. Taarifa gani utatoa?
I will try and explain to them in a language they will be able to understand. Yes. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Rebecca, utasema tu jina lako pia, kila mtu anajua, alafu ongeza sauti kidogo tuambie. Ongea kwanza kwa jina, ongea na sauti.
Jina naitwa Rebecca Wanja Mwendwa. Mimi nilikuwa bibi ya Mwenda. Gosh. Jesus.
Una nguvu? Sawa.
Kwa majina naitwa Stella Grace Kimani, sister to Joseph Muiruri mwenye alikuwa taxi driver.
Najua imechukua muda na hivi sasa kupata haki, unahisi vipi?
Kwanza tunashukuru Mungu sana kwa siku ya leo. Ametuwezesha after 7 years tumepata justice. Okay, we had confidence with just receipt from the word go. Although haijakuwa rahisi, it was very tough, lakini Mungu ametushindania. So tunasikia vizuri, tunasikia okay, these are my brothers, na tunasikia tuko relieved. Hata tumesema leo mtu anasikia vizuri tu, amerelax, kila kitu imeenda vizuri, we thank God.
Brother, ya Mwenda, sawa. Angalia hivi, face, yes, hapo. Mwanzo kwa majina.
Naitwa Mugambi na mimi Edward Mugambi. Mimi ni brother ya Mwenda. Mimi nimefurahia na nimefurahishwa na uamuzi wa koti. Hiyo tumengojea miaka mingi, kama miaka 7 hivi. Hii nilikuwa nimesikia vibaya sana kwa ndugu yangu. Lakini mimi nimefurahia na hiyo uamuzi wa koti, na Lesiti amefanya kitu ya maana sana. Na mimi nashukuru Mungu. Asanteni. Okay.
Okay. I think we can close with the International Justice Mission Country Director, where Willie worked. Please.
Director, kujitambulisha.
My name is Benson Shamala. I serve as the Country Director for International Justice Mission, where Willie used to work. And today is so encouraging to see that we have come to the end of this long and protracted case. As we have heard, we have taken close to 7 years following up on this particular case. We have made 185 court appearances in those particular close to 7 years. And today we are happy that justice has been served at last. Of course, we would have loved to have a higher sentence for the second, third, and the fifth accused. But we believe that this sends a strong message to the people, especially the police officers who have been given the mandate to protect Kenyans, and they turn those particular mandates to violate the other Kenyans. IJM is part of the Police Reform Working Group, and we are happy to see that today justice has been served. We know that there are so many other cases of police killings, so we believe that this will start a process whereby we can have accountability in our criminal justice system, especially for the police. I want to thank all the people that have been involved in this particular case, the media, who have kept this particular case in the limelight for all these years. I want also to thank the investigative officers because they did a fantastic job to unravel the mysteries that were surrounded in this particular case. As we've heard from Lady Justice Lesit, this was a case that was well orchestrated, well planned, and well executed. We could have gone without any trace, but the police investigating officers did a great job in unearthing the mysteries around this case and bringing the culprit to book. I want also to thank the prosecution side and also the lawyers who are for the victims and also LSK. They have stood along with us, International Justice Mission, to follow up on this particular case, pushing it. This case had a lot of turns and twists, but eventually we have seen justice. I also want to thank the Police Reform Working Group for standing with us all through. And more importantly, the families of the 3 victims. They have stood with this justice. They have stood their ground in following up in this particular justice. And no family, as Mr. Irungu has said, should go through this. The anguish, the agony that the family have gone through. But all along, they wanted justice. And I believe that today marks a beginning of them and get somehow a new normal. So thank you, and thank you so much.
One question by one director. Maybe in this healing process, if you have any measures that you will be keeping in touch with the family and checking on them frequently?
In the National Justice Mission, we have got a way of strengthening our criminal justice system, and one of the critical things also that we do is taking care of the families of the victim. We have worked with this particular family each and every day, and we continue working with them because we know that that journey of healing is not an easy one and it's not a short one. So our commitment is to continue working with the family, providing all the psychosocial support that they may need so that they can come to a place of healing. Of course, we know that even with this happiness that we have gotten justice, we may not have Willie, Joseph, and Josephat back, but we know we can support the family to have a new normal where they can live on now, even without them.
One last thing, mention something about the boardroom that has been dedicated in memory of Willie Kimani.
So when you come to our International Justice Mission, first of all, when it happened, it took almost 2 years to touch the seat and the desk where Willie was seated. All the things that were on his desk during that time, they remained intact for almost 2 years. And no one wanted to touch it because of the memories that we had. It was a very difficult time for International Justice Mission staff members. Somebody whom you worked with, not only a staff, but also a friend. And so in honor of him, in a small way, we have a boardroom that we have dedicated it to Willie Kimani as a memory. Not that we can forget about Willie Kimani, but to memorize him to who he was to us. And not only Willie, but also Joseph, who was very close to us, and the client that we are serving, Josephat.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.